I want to ask you about the Color Me Flattered project. What, why, when, how it happened? It just come to you.
Um, so the Color Me Flattered project is I draw coloring book pages for anyone that wants them. So I started in August 2020. So now that's a long time ago. But because when I was like, boy, we're in the middle of this pandemic, I really thought it was like kind of halfway through at that point. But I started to everyone on the email list. I wanted to like send things to people on an email list. I wanted to connect with people outside of social media because that can be a whole quicksand trap. And I am an illustrator. And so I got to do some coloring book style illustrations for this book that Cole, who owns 12 Mile, he wrote this book called Big Fat Cocktails and hired me to do, it's called Cocktail Dive Bar. I always confuse the names. The other one is less appropriate, but I feel like I know, I was like, Cocktail Dive Bar.
Give me a big old fat cocktail. I just need a big fat.
Mm-hmm. But I did some coloring book illustrations for that in the summer of 2020. And then I was like, oh, that was like fun and joyful. And I'd never really thought to do those before. And so then I started just sending out like, I think at first I had maybe like 10 people signed up on the mailing list. And I was like, anybody who signs up gets to be part of Team Flattered. And I send out, they are coloring pages that are also compliments that you can color in. And just like as morale boosts. And then a cool thing happened where people were starting to send them to each other in the mail. They were like coloring them in and sending them to each other. And so I created a postcard book out of them. And I called it Volume 1 to make myself make a Volume 2. Because that way it's like, you know.
Yes, isn't that a great idea?
Yeah, public promises are the only way I get anything done. So I did that, and it was, and so that exists now as like a little postcard book that I've now had the new experience of doing like pop-ups with, and you know, like sending things in the mail. It's like a nice physical, because so much of my stuff before as an illustrator has been all digital, and so it's been fun to have like a real little thing that I can hold. I should have one like over there, but I should have one here to be like,
that's okay. We're gonna put it up because we don't have to edit out some stuff. Okay. I'm gonna be completely transparent with you. I see it and be like, that's amazing, and then like my attention span goes but you better believe we're gonna get some of our Color Me Flattered pages, because Aubrey doesn't know your name, but she's like, the lady that did the thing for us, where's she at? I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna let y'all meet one day. I'm
like an employee of hers now, which I understand her power, where she's just like, who is that? The one who gives me the pages? Who's the one with the drawings?
Right. Like, no, she's really like that. When she's she'll be 8 next month, and when she plays with her sisters, it's like she's a queen or a diplomat or some sort of something. And then everybody else like dogs and servants, and I don't know where she gets the peasants. Why are they peasants? Because they are. My name, her middle name is Elizabeth, and so in her brain, she is Queen Elizabeth.
Yeah, that makes sense. You know, I think that'll work for her in life to keep feeling that way. So go for it. I've already let art direct me like all over the place. So yeah.
That's good. Are there any like personal things that help drive you creatively?
Personal things like what I do to get pepped up, or like what, I mean, or like, I guess, ask that again. My brain's a little fuzzy. So like what like habits I have, or like.
Okay, like for me, you know, most of my comedy is the kids, because that's all I can do right now. Okay. Or you know, things people tell me, you know, because I'm a tall person, and people tell me like the most ridiculous things. Like, did you think that before you said it? No? Okay.
I've witnessed that before. I've definitely like been out at a bar with you, and I've seen that happen. That is. Oh, so like where I get my material from / what? I hate when comedians are like, it's observational, but I do feel like it's kind of like I've just always just talked about how I move through the world and like things that pop out to me. So I feel like there's some comics that are like, you know, I'm edgy, or I'm like talking about the politics of things or whatever. And I feel like I just kind of talk about experiences I've had. I've had that be described as like feminist or whatever, but I'm like, I think it's just because I'm a woman and I tell jokes. And so in talking about my experiences, that's what they are. But yeah, it's just sort of like in the like finding silliness in day to day, it's just kind of like finding things like, as much as when I started, I wanted to be this like high-minded person who's like, oh, I'm a really smart comic, or I do all like, I was so, you know, passionate about being like, I'm so smart about it, which I still think I'm smart, but like, it's the feeling of like, oh, did that make me laugh? Does saying that out loud make me laugh? Does it make me happy to tell people this very silly thing I thought of? And now I'm trying to just follow that, because I think it's very easy to get caught up in like, what does it mean? Or what is, you know, what's the significance of this? Where really it's like, hey, the significance will happen. Just like say funny things. That's your job. So things, sharing things that delight me, I guess, is my overall mode of creativity, both in visual and performance art.
I have to tell you, I have a secret. My husband's gonna be so mad, but I'm gonna tell you anyway.
You're also telling everyone who's listening to the podcast.
I don't care. What he gonna do? Fight me? I'm bigger than him. Anyway, his favorite joke of yours is the cum heist joke.
Thank you.
It's that cum heist. He was like, what's her name? What's cum heist's name? Her name is cum heist.
I feel like I did get nicknamed cum heist by your husband. I feel like that is, which is hilarious to me as far as me.
Well, don't feel bad. You don't feel bad. Mary Devon, his name for her was War Badge. So she told a joke about, I don't know, like her vagina or something.
Oh, that it's like been war.
He was like, don't you ever say that. I was like, okay, I won't.
Yeah, never.
Sure,
never.
Never.
You're like here saying it to everyone.
It's okay. It's okay. I'm an oversharer. So
that is like, I feel like if you're married to a comedian, I feel like you really have to be like, really, really don't say. Like, I like there's like extra. I have a thing where someone has to tell me like, don't even tell Bethany, my sister. Like they're like, that's the level. Like
that's the level. Like, okay.
There's like there's circles like, don't tell anyone. I'm like, okay, well I won't tell anyone, you know, out in the world. But then they're like, no, not even Bethany. And I'm like, oh, this is like a secret. Okay.
Yeah, you gotta do that too.
If anyone listening ever really needs to tell me a secret, just Bethany's like the code word for like not even her.
You don't need to know who Bethany is. Just say it. Don't tell Bethany. Not even her.
That is.
How did moving from Ohio to New Orleans, like what was that like, I know there was some sort of culture shock in there.
Sure.
So, like, what was that like?
It was, I mean, I'm very grateful that I made the move. I left Ohio not being like, I feel like some people move away from the Midwest being like, screw this place, I hate it. And I didn't move away with that sort of feeling. I was like, I have a lot of people I love there still, but it was, I was 29 when I moved, and I'd studied abroad for like a few months, but I'd never really like lived outside of Ohio in any significant way. And so it was just like, I mean, there are many, many culture shocks. I feel like I did the total cliche thing of a comic that moves here, where the first like 6 months of my comedy were like, this is how I find it weird here. Or, like, this is different for me.
It makes sense.
So there was some obvious things like that where I'm like, people are wacky and here's why. And everyone's like, yeah, we live here. We know. You're not telling us anything new. I also moved from like, I mean, Ohio is like super, super white. So I feel like that was, as far as like culture, as far as just like it is not as like, here are the white people and here are the black people. And then there's not much, like, I feel like I lived in a pretty liberal part of Ohio, but still like if I think about my upbringing, if I think about like, I literally grew up in White House, Ohio is what it was called. Like it was just very, it's founded by a guy named Edward Whitehouse. And it was just a super like, just a very like white Christian upbringing. And so as far as like, I mean, culture shock is the wrong word, because I'm not like, oh my God, there's people that aren't white here. Oh no. Like it wasn't like that, but it was like just a feeling of like, oh yeah, like you are so used to being in a group of people that like looks exactly like you, or you're like, you're so used to like being the majority of whatever is in the building or the room or whatever. And so that was, I mean, I'm grateful for the experience. And then also the like, I described myself when I was younger as like baby's day out, where everything was very like, I was like, oh, I just like happened into this luck, or I did whatever. And then I like, as I get older, I'm like, oh, baby's day out is called privilege. And that's like, that's not baby's day out. That's just you being a Midwestern lady who has gotten that. And so like, it was very good for me to move here, because also there's just so many like artists here and people that are living like creative, authentic lives that are different than what you would think, as far as like, I go to work every day from 9 to 5. And this is exactly what my like, I feel like there's so many people that live outside of what you were told when you were younger was like the thing you do, as like, far as like, because I feel like up until probably the end of college, like I really was very like, I get engaged at 22 and I get married at 24, and then I have 3 kids, and then I just truly had like a little plan for myself. And now I'm so far away from that plan, and so it's good to live in a city where everyone is like, there is no plan. Like this is what are you trying to do? Like you can plan short term, but like what are you? And so yeah, so I feel like it's a really, I had a friend who visited from Ohio recently. She was down here and she's like, oh yeah, I can see why you moved. There's a lot going on. Like I was just like, yeah, it's a really, it's just like cool to get to know a city. And now I'm coming on, I've lived here for 7 years, and it's like very cool to live in a place, 6.5, I guess, if I'm going in like kids age where I'm like, I'm 6.5.
6.5 and a quarter.
And a quarter. But it's really nice to both have the layering of, I know so much more about the city than when I moved here, and I know nothing at all still. Like it's like a nice, like it's like I know enough to know that there's still so much to know, and it's like cool to live in a city that is challenging in that way. Yeah. And then challenging in like real ways, like hurricanes and stuff. Like that is in like real legit.
I was not coming back, okay? It was like in Texas. I was like having meltdowns. My birthday, I hate my birthday so much. And then like the kids, and I was like, I just do. I'm not coming back. Hey, do this.
Yeah.
So yeah, I appreciate when, I really don't like the word transplants, because in my juvenile brain, I think of like organs.
But I'm just like a kidney flopping around in the city. Just like, ooh, beignets.
I appreciate the fact that someone who isn't from here, a lot of people come to New Orleans and like, they try to embody what it is. This is New Orleans, baby. And I'm like, nobody talks like that. I appreciate when people come and they pay attention, they observe, and then they respect what they observed instead of trying to like rearrange it and change it. And it's very few people that I meet that are like you, who appreciate just how different New Orleans is and how quirky it is and how random it is, and then take the culture and just really just appreciate it without like appropriating it, maybe. I don't know. I don't have like, but I noticed like my husband, I used to live and work in Connecticut. And then I got married, and then we're like, hey, we should probably just move back home. And so we moved back in 2010. And then I started seeing like white people in the hood, and I was like, what this is? I know this is gonna be something. And then eventually like but our house is tiny. It was like 1 bathroom and 3 little boxes. And then all of a sudden, like a house around the corner for me sold for like $320,000. And I was like, what is that? What is happening? And then like zoning and noise ordinances and things that we never had here. Like I used to tell people, I was like 15, 16 years old and just like, I'm going to get a drink. And nobody cared. And now it's like, we should care. We should absolutely care. We should change everything. Bike lanes. I was like, what's a bike lane?
I mean, I do. I like the bike lanes. I do like
there's nothing wrong with that. It's just the way New Orleans does things. It's like, so you gonna put the bike lane by the bus stop. I can't tell you how many, especially right there on St. Claude, that space gives me the most anxiety. I see people on bikes and I'm just like, please don't hit them. Please don't hit them. Oh my God.
Oh yeah, it's terrifying. Especially like I guess if it, again, as a transplant, as a kidney flopping around the city, I hate to, have suggestions, but the drunk driving here is so wild that like, and especially like, I think during the pandemic, people were like, oh, well, it's not safe to take a Lyft, so I will just drive so drunk. Like, I remember one of the first nights out, there was like a comedy show that it was like one of my first nights like back out in the city where I was like out doing a show, and then Dave and I were driving home after the show, and it felt like we were in like a bad comedy sketch about how many people were driving. Like a person literally in front of us swerved in front of us and threw a bottle out the window. And so I'm just like I'm like very worried about bikers, just in the sense that I'm like, I mean, the post-pandemic streets are wild for maneuvering generally, but
yes,
yeah, that's way off topic. But I just remember being like, I'm like, whoa, it is wild out here. Right,
I am the mama when it comes to bikers. Like, you are riding the wrong way. Do you know people can't see you? You could have got hit. You could have been in a ditch somewhere.
If you scolded me on my bike, I would listen. Whatever you told me to do, I would be like, I'm so sorry.
Oh man. Well, Laura, is there anything you want to add before we go? Is there anything that I missed?
Ooh, I feel like we covered the main basis of like, what were our main things? Like, get paid, find joy, respect the culture. I feel like those are like.
Yeah, you heard it.
I feel like, no, that's pretty good for me. I will say, if someone's listening and wants me to send them coloring pages, I want to do that. So if you go to laurasanders.fun, really for anything, that's how you can find out more about me. And I am a total like people connective person. So I guess one of the things when you're like, what's your creative? I really like connecting with other people and kind of hearing about other people. So I feel like a lot of times we're like, and get in touch. And they're like, it's a bunch of bullshit, but like, I really like it. If someone is like, I actually heard you and I listened and I went and emailed you, it brings me immense amounts of joy. So
yes, you better
email so get in touch.
Get in touch. Don't have me take this off. I will scare all of y'all.
Yeah, please bully them for me, please.
No, I'm a gentle giant. Yes. But yes, thank you so much, Laura. It was
thank you.
Immense pleasure. And we're gonna have you back on the show probably tomorrow.
Please do. I will. I'll have a better setup than sitting on my floor with my iPad.
Man, don't know about it, Joe. We get to see your face, and that's all that matters.
There we go.
All right. Well, that is it. That is all for the Women Wise.
Well, that was easy and fun.
Yeah. That's just like me, easy and fun.
Have a lovely day, Ashley. It was good to talk to you.
See you on the other side.